Hey everyone, welcome into What the Hell Should They Do? This is our first episode ever, so let me give you a rundown of how this is going to work. My name's Steve, I'm here with my partner Ryan.
How's it going?
We are amateurs that tell the professionals how to do their jobs.
Right.
The show's a bit eclectic, we got a bunch of stuff going on. Today we're going to talk about some NFL free agency, we're going to talk about NBA trade deadline, and we're also going to dive into the world of politics and tell you what celebrities we'd want to see next in the White House
After Trump.
after Trump. So to kick off the show, we are going to talk about our NFL free agency storylines to watch. The way this is going to work is that Ryan and I have each picked a handful of players to talk about, and we're going to tell them where they should go with their careers because
they listen to us.
Yeah,
We know
they'll
what
listen
we're
to
talking
us.
about.
So, without any further ado, I'm going to start out with Terrell Pryor. For those of you who don't know who Terrell Pryor is, I don't know where you've been during this last NFL season, but he was the wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns.
Who?
Right. That team that is living in constant mediocrity.
The only good spot they got.
Right. The only good spot they got. He's the lone bright spot for them. So, what research I've done has shown me that there is interest from the Eagles. Philadelphia seems to be interested in acquiring the talents of Terrell
Interesting.
Pryor. Right. So it turns out that a while back, Terrell Pryor, I believe in week 1 when they played the Eagles, went out of his way to compliment Carson Wentz. So,
Did he do it on purpose?
right, that's what people are saying. So, Bleeding Green Nation, which is a online editorial, I guess, for fans of the Eagles, posted this headline that says Terrell Pryor is expected to test NFL free agency and he might just be interested in signing with the Eagles. Now,
Interesting.
I don't know about you, but I think that is a scary thought when you break down the fact that the Eagles were actually contenders last year with a rookie quarterback and no wide receiving core.
Contending enough, yeah.
Yeah. So they re-signed Fletcher Cox last year, so they solidified the defensive line. The defense needs a little bit of work, but you can see that they're putting the pieces together. Last year, just to put it in perspective,
Right, because Ryan Matthews was there.
yeah, that's their running back.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
last year, Terrell Pryor put up 77 receptions for 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, and had a rushing touchdown. It came out to 13 yards a catch. This guy is 6'4". He's ran a 4.38 40 time. 4.38 at 6'4". So
scary.
he's jumping
That is-
over people and running by people.
And
So-
you don't need a running back if he can run the ball.
Right. So now
Get
you
rid of
have
that ball.
like this uber threat because he was a quarterback in college at Ohio State. I don't know how many people out there watched Terrell Pryor while he was doing his thing there, but it was something to watch. When he gets into the open field, it's like watching a gazelle run. Like his strides
yeah.
are just so long that
If you haven't seen it, see the longest run by a quarterback in NFL history.
Right, he does. Right,
He
has
owns
the
it.
longest run. I think it's like 90 yards or something when he was with the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, yeah, that's right, people. He can play quarterback.
Yeah. So when he was playing for Cleveland, here's his quarterback list, and it's a doozy. It is the who's who of quarterbacks, let me tell you. It was Robert Griffin, Cody Kessler, Josh McCown, Kevin Hogan, and Charlie Whitehurst. And like most of you, on about half of those guys, I'm saying who? Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
And he still put up 1,000 yards. So for everyone like his ex-teammate Brian Hartline, who came out and said, is he my number one? God, I hope not. Let's put it this way. For me, I want a guy day in and day out. I know what I'm getting. 77 catches, 1,000 yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns
That would
with
put him pretty
that
high
group
up.
of quarterbacks?
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm getting. So
I hope so. I mean, we saw a similar thing with DeAndre Hopkins when, oh look, look, eclectic view of quarterbacks,
Right.
And then all of a sudden he has a stable quarterback who played the entire season, and where did he go? I don't know.
yeah, so I guess if it's being brought up, it's being brought up by former teammates, though, because Brian Hartline was his teammate. For those of you who don't know, he was a wide receiver at Ohio State when Terrell Pryor was there. So my question to you, Ryan, is do Terrell Pryor's personality issues worry you?
They don't, and here's why. Because I look at him more as he's doing what it takes to succeed. And now if that's someone that sounds like you'd want that on your team, then you should go out and take him. Because I know of a certain other quarterback who didn't make it as a quarterback and refused to do anything as such. Who refused to change his position and try something more successful.
Right.
That guy is now playing baseball.
Yeah.
So I look at Terrell Pryor, who
right, and he's
a failed quarterback.
Right, and Tim Tebow, who we're talking about, who's
Right.
now playing baseball, had no personality issues.
Right.
Was the ultimate goody-goody, right? Like
Mhm.
no knocking, we're not knocking Tim Tebow here, but
Right.
you know he was,
Because to knock him, you got to
taking
knock
a
somebody
knee,
else.
always praying,
Yeah.
like you know the ultimate like good guy. And where is he now? Like he refused to change positions. So
Right.
if you're going to give me a guy that does he get heated when he loses? I mean, if I was on a team that looked like we weren't going to win a single game all year, I'd probably be a little heated too. And
Right.
I'd probably be saying, throw me the ball more because I have 77 catches for 1,000 yards.
And somebody who has at least some quarterbacking experience, especially playing for Ohio State, I think he has like that a good leadership quality that he can bring to a lineup. However, I don't think someone like that can succeed with an established quarterback. That's my personal opinion. Take it as you will. I think.
So you're saying that he shouldn't go somewhere like, say, a Pittsburgh or a New England or a...
That's right.
So you're saying avoid the veteran...
I would say avoid them.
You're saying avoid the veteran leadership.
Yes, because if you go to somebody like a Carson Wentz or Derek Carr, they have some leadership, but they're not that established. All right, everyone's looking at me to lead this, and they can almost kind of do like a tag team leadership, because it's hard for somebody who was leading a team and everyone looking at him to go, all right, now I'm taking a step back. And that's something he could do in Cleveland, because who's looking at their quarterbacks? Oh, wait, nobody. Like, they looked to him
Right.
for, like, the only leadership they had.
All right, so you being a big New England Patriots fan,
I am.
the question I had was, do you want Terrell Pryor? It sounds like no.
It's tough. Obviously, me as a fan, I'd love to see Terrell Pryor out there catching passes from Tom Brady, because he's a physical specimen, and everybody knows with Tom Brady, I mean, he makes his wide receivers better, a.k.a. Randy Moss, 23 touchdowns. But,
It's fair.
yeah, but I just don't know if that personality would be able to match in that locker room.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
So
There you have
I
it.
would much prefer him as my professional. If I was Terrell Pryor, I would look at it and be like, that would be the best scenario for me. Where the hell should I go? I would go to one of those lesser quarterback, especially like maybe a Dallas. I mean, they have a big personality in Des Bryant, but they also have like a
young quarterback.
young quarterback who's not established with.
All right, so the way this show works is sometimes we talk about topics like this, and we're going to finish it up because it's called What the Hell Should They Do? We're going to say, where the hell should he go?
Yeah.
We're going to tell you, Terrell Pryor, and I'm going to take the lead on this one since you were my guy.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you should go either to Philadelphia, because everyone knows that Carson Wentz needs his weapons. I'm going to pull this one out there on you. Tampa Bay, I think, would be a perfect fit for Terrell Pryor, and here's why. So, Florida State's ex-quarterback, Jameis Winston, is now the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In college, Jameis thrived when he had Kelvin Benjamin, who is around 6'4".
Mhm.
Now he has Mike Evans, who again is around 6'4" and is putting up monster stats. I think that would be a great fit for Terrell Pryor. Get him a guy who can throw those jump balls, has the big arm, has the big personality. You know, he kind of fit in there.
Mhm.
You know, you bring in guys
course,
like
yeah.
Jameis and, you know, Mike Evans, Terrell Pryor. You know, on the other side of the ball, they have
a lot of weapons there.
Vernon
Yeah.
Hargraves, I think,
Mhm.
on the other side of the ball, if I'm not mistaken.
Quan Alexander.
Quan
linebacker,
Alexander. They got Levante David. Like, they got big guys on the
And
other
he
side.
fits under my impression of where he should go, because it's like a younger quarterback. Is
Right, so it kind
not
of fits
established.
your
Yeah.
idea. Then I have a couple other teams that kind of scatter in here. Tennessee doesn't have a wide receiver. I think they should make a big push for him.
They have to almost at this point.
Yeah, they almost have to. New England, I think, needs another outside threat. And we've all heard like the Brandon Marshall to New England. But like, why would you pay for Brandon Marshall when Terrell Pryor's on the market and
True,
he's
true.
7 years younger
Mhm.
and has no injury history? And then I'm saying San Francisco. They need talent, and Shanahan loves big receivers with top end speed. Kyle Shanahan, the former OC for the Falcons,
Right. Julio
and
Jones.
had Julio Jones, who
Mhm.
was, 6'3" and burner, and what's
Yep.
Terrell Pryor, 6'4" and a burner. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, make it happen. I'm not saying he's Julio Jones by any means, because Julio has the blocking and has this all stuff. He's built like a tight end, but runs like a wide receiver kind of deal.
Right. A little bit different physical specimen there, but
a little
I can
bit
see where he's
different.
going. Oh, yeah.
So, that's where I kind of stand on Terrell Pryor. I'm going to send it your way for your first guy, and then we'll be trading off like this as we go.
And me being obviously a New England Patriots homie, I'm going to start off with Dante Hightower. I mean, everyone's going to say, why didn't you pick Malcolm Butler? Why didn't you pick Malcolm Butler? Well, here's why I didn't pick Malcolm Butler. He's a restricted free agent. Even if they don't place the first-round tender, I just don't think that any team's going to want maybe an undersized corner, maybe not pay him more than he could be worth, especially after, like, he did play a good season, but it's one season, and he's young, and I understand that, so I went away from the Malcolm Butler scenario, and I went to the only linebacker the Patriots really have left, so he is more of a must sign.
The only one that they haven't run out of town at this point.
Right. And, I mean, you can essentially count Chandler Jones in that category as well, because he kind of plays like a hybrid linebacker for the Cardinals, who just got a pretty big extension through them. And now you have, Jamie Collins just got a big extension with the Cleveland Browns. So the linebackers the Patriots have are pretty scant outside of Dante Hightower. So where the hell should he go? I think for his best interest, he should go back to the Patriots, and not because I'm a Patriots fan, which obviously I am, but I think the bigger reason for Dante Hightower to come back to the Patriots is because I think a lot of defenses now are transitioning away from kind of this bigger run-stopping linebackers. Like, gone are the ways of, like, the Brandon Spikes, Luke Kuechly a little bit, but he's actually a lot better in coverage. So like these kind of downhill linebackers.
Yeah, you're definitely not getting a Luke Kuechly out of Dante Hightower.
No, of
by
course
any
not.
means. There's a lot that he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Over his career, though, like, here's the thing with Dante Hightower is he doesn't get as many tackles as most middle linebackers do. Middle linebackers in the NFL typically are around 100, 110 tackles a year total.
Right.
Here's Dante Hightower, starting from 2012, his rookie year through this year. He went to 60 to 97 to 89 to 61 to 65. Okay? And he has 17 sacks over those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So he's at like 3 sacks a year.
Which isn't a bad...
And he only played one full season. He's played one full season in his entire career.
Mm-hmm.
So he can sit there and command and be like, oh, I want the $11 million, but is he worth $11 million or is he worth $12 million?
To another team, I would say no. I think a team will look at him and be like, well, what does he offer? What does he bring to our team that we can't get from somewhere else? There's a lot of upstart linebackers out there, like the Quan Alexanders. I'm a personal fan of Ryan Shazier in Pittsburgh.
Nice.
That I think those are like some more athletic guys, because like Dante Hightower brings a certain athleticism, but I think he's more of he's a good blitzer, so I think he knows when to rush the quarterback, but he's not a guy who can step out in coverage on a running back and produce well, and he just can't do it.
Right, I think he's more of that classic Patriots rah-rah guy more than he is the...
And maybe not even just rah-rah, but I think he's smart. He understands the different defenses, because the Patriots on a given week can transition from a 3-4 to a 4-3 to like a 5-2-2. They run all sorts of different coverages out there.
He definitely seems to have accepted the Belichick way, which is, you could be starting one week for Belichick and then not see the field at all the next
exactly.
week. And it may have everything to do with you, or it may have nothing to do with you.
It could be the game plan, but you just don't see as much snaps.
In a world where Daron Harmon is the third safety and he's seeing about half the snaps in the year,
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots don't run exactly the most...
No, they play kind of a hybrid. Like, they have Patrick Chung, who's a starting safety. However, they throw him in the box. He covers tight ends occasionally, but he's also a good blitzer. And they have him for run stopping. So he's like a safety that they just go, all right, you're playing like a linebacker. So they do so many different things, and I don't think that's something that can translate to a different system. So he might command $11 million a year from the Patriots because, for one, I think they're in a kind of a bad situation with obviously depth at the linebacker position. So they might have to be forced to pay his $11 million. But I also think it would be worth it for them to do that as well.
I think it pays off. Look what he did in the Super Bowl. He was just absolutely a game changer. So
Yeah, and not even just that Super Bowl too. I mean, he made some good plays in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks 2 years ago.
right. So Dante Hightower, where the hell should he go?
Go back to New England.
Go back to New England. All right.
Yep.
So we're going to keep moving here, and we're going to go on to my next guy. It's Kirk Cousins. I know he's
You like that?
technically- Yeah,
You like that?
I like that. I like that. Technically not a free agent, but he's been franchised for the second year in a row now, which is going to pay him somewhere in the realm of $25 million. Because when you get franchised twice, I think you become the highest paid player at that position.
I think by 5% too.
Yeah,
Or something
so
crazy
it's
like that.
pretty.
So
It's
Kirk
pretty
Cousins, your new
substantial.
highest paid quarterback in the NFL. You guys
Right.
like that?
Yeah.
Do you like that?
He likes that. So here's the thing with Kirk Cousins is he has gone on record pretty much and said that he is willing to be traded. The problem is he's only willing to be traded to one team.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to go to the 49ers. He wants to be with Kyle Shanahan.
Do you blame
again.
him? I don't.
I don't blame him. That was his old offensive coordinator when he was just lighting the league on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, last week, an NFL Network analyst and former NFL scout Daniel Jeremiah said that there's a 50% chance that Cousins isn't in Washington next season, which that's about as good of insight as you can possibly get.
He might be there. He might not.
Yeah,
be.
he might
That's-
not. He might
flip
be
a
there. He
coin.
might not be. Yeah, like coin flip. So,
Not
I
the
don't
greatest
know.
inside information, but okay.
But
we'll
I felt
take it.
I'd quote him to you anyway.
Right.
Here's the thing in Washington, right? Colt McCoy's their backup. They have the 17th pick in the draft, and the Niners have the second pick. I'm looking at it and thinking to myself, do you want to really pay Kirk Cousins $25 million this year
Oh, of course not.
and then have him walk out the door for nothing? You're not going to get anything for him because the time to get something for him has passed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and I mean, granted, why would you want to lose $25 million now when all the free agents are coming out that you could make a run at?
Right. So why are they going to hold on to this guy and continue to be a middling team? Like, they'll do well. Like they said, they have the 17th pick in the draft, which means they were in the upper half of the league. They were in the better half. There's 32 teams. That
Right.
means 16
But
is the cutoff.
you're-
So now
yeah.
there's 17. So
You're
they're
one game
just-
above 500.
Right. They're just good enough to not suck,
Yeah.
and they're going to keep this guy around. So now they're just going to continue on this path. They're not going to be able to rebuild. Colt McCoy's sitting behind him. If you believe in Colt McCoy enough to either play well enough that people aren't going to get rid of their season tickets or get you to where you need to go, because I look at Kirk Cousins and before I go giving my opinion on that, I want to segue it to this quote from Tiki Barber, which was
Oh, yes.
brief, short, and it says, "Of course you take Kirk Cousins over Cam Newton," says Tiki Barber.
Yeah.
And
Does
no
Tiki
one
Barber
else.
have some sort of past affiliation with Kirk Cousins?
Right.
He must have.
Like,
he must have
I
somewhere
don't-
that he
has
met him. And it's
nothing
like,
to do with Kirk Cousins.
Mhm.
The reason he wants Kirk Cousins over Cam Newton is Tiki Barber's reasoning is that Cam Newton relies on his legs too much. Kirk Cousins sits in the pocket. He'll find his guy. And he said, he went on further to say, to compare Cam Newton to Donovan McNabb. And he said, look at Donovan back when he's, and this is me paraphrasing what he said, except there's one word in here that's actually straight from his quote. He said, look at Donovan back when he was young.
Mhm.
He ran a lot, and it gave us hell on the defensive end. And then he says, and I quote, then he got chubby, end quote. And then he wasn't as effective as a runner. So I guess, yeah, if Cam Newton were to balloon up to
Jamarcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell's
He's kinda
status and
late,
become
yeah.
offensive lineman caliber fat, like if he goes on the Eddie Lacy diet, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Then give me Kirk Cousins instead because he's decently in shape, I guess, and he's playing quarterback.
But
in the
who's he
NFL.
comparing to?
Right, but why would he take Cam Newton's an MVP? Cam Newton almost won the Super Bowl.
He went to a Super Bowl. How many Super Bowls has Kirk Cousins gone
Right.
to?
How many Kirk Cousins doesn't even win in the playoffs. I mean,
And the guy he compared him to, Donovan McNabb, also went to a Super Bowl.
yeah, also went to a Super Bowl and what was it? 5 NFC championship games
Yeah.
or something like that. So he was right there and just couldn't quite get over the hump.
Which, as a fan, I mean, obviously it's a heartbreak, but you want to see your team at least be there.
Right.
Did they make the playoffs last year?
Who, the Redskins?
Yeah.
I don't think they did.
No.
Now I'm thinking of it, I don't think they did. So
as your team, I mean, you'd want to be as like, competitive as possible.
right. So do you take Cam or Kirk?
Oh, Cam, no doubt.
Yeah, I take
Obviously.
Cam too. Like, give Cam Newton a decent defense and a decent running game, and he's going to bring you to a Super Bowl. He showed you it last year.
Yeah.
So
Heck, I mean, I take like minus his arm. I even take Cam with just his legs over Kirk Cousins.
I think Kirk Cousins would take Cam Newton over Kirk Cousins at this point. I mean, I don't think he's fooling himself. I mean,
No, he had a good run.
let's
but,
be real. If RG3 had stayed healthy, there would be no Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins never would have saw the field.
Like, that's just the bottom line.
Of course.
So, the question is, what the hell should the Redskins do then? I say trade Kirk Cousins for the number 2 pick in the draft. Get yourself a 3rd and 4th rounder with him. He's gone anyway. If you're gonna tank.
Right, but and then here's my counter argument to that is like if I'm the 49ers, would I give up the 2nd overall pick for Kirk Cousins? Probably not.
Right, if you're San Francisco, you sit there and go, well, he's coming to us anyway, so why
Right,
would we
so
trade
what-
for him this year? We suck anyway, so
Yeah,
I'm going to
'cause then
suck
you-
this
then-
year.
Then
Get
you trade
another
for him.
high
He's
pick.
stuck under the
Right.
salary. Like,
Right, so for the Redskins, what the hell should the Redskins do? I say trade them. What the hell should the 49ers do? I say sit tight and be terrible again this year.
Yeah.
Get yourself another high draft pick. Don't draft a quarterback, though. Don't do it, because you're going to wind up with... Give yourself a shot at Kirk Cousins. Because if
Yeah.
you go and draft a high quarterback, you're not going to get Kirk Cousins.
or work on that 3-team draft like trade that came out a couple weeks
The
last
Tony
week.
Romo one?
Yeah.
The Redskins were involved in that,
Oh
though.
yeah, it was Kirk Cousins and Tony
Right, but
Romo.
where's Tony Romo going? That means he'd be going to the Redskins, which puts them in the same position. Which is, again, if you're going to tank...
But it puts him in a little better position because I think I would take Tony Romo over Kirk Cousins. I don't know.
Would you?
I would.
What, for the 3 games that he'll play all year?
That's right.
All right, we're going to move on to the next player that you had.
Yep. And I'm going to focus on. I'm going to do some Alshon Jeffrey.
All right.
Yeah. Gonna switch it up. Go to this wide receiver because we have a little bit of offense with the quarterbacks and Terrell Pryor, but Alshon Jeffrey is a little bit different animal. I would say. He's huge. He's got some injury problems. Realistically, what do you think his value on an open market with? Oh, I'll let you take a sip of your drink. But
No, I got it.
yeah.
So value on the open market?
Yep. How much would you pay for if you had $50 million salary cap? Maybe you have a middle tier wide receiver. What would you pay Alshon Jeffrey? Would you put him in the $15 million a year range of like the Des Bryant's, that's 17, like, or would you give him like a lower to like a 12 or 11?
I
Like a Terrell
probably
Pryor
would.
could get.
I'd start cringing at around 10.
Yeah.
I don't think he's proven himself enough to... And don't get me wrong, I love Alshon Jeffrey. I think he's a great player. I think he did all that stuff. But his best year was with Brandon Marshall there.
Oh yeah. No. I mean that's a
So
fair. That's a very fair point. I was going to talk about that.
and he's always hurt.
Mhm.
He's always hurt. So I'd start cringing around 10 million.
Yeah, that's a good number. I actually think it's less than that because, and here's why. Like, I like Alshon Jeffrey. I had him as a fantasy player when he was on, when Brandon Marshall was on that team. He did really well. He had like 10 touchdowns. He had a bunch of yards. However, when Brandon Marshall left and was like, all right, you're the guy, Alshon Jeffrey. Same quarterback. Granted, Jay Cutler had some in and out kind of range, but his production was not up to where you'd think it would have been. You know, you see a lot more targets. He had some drops. he had obviously the injury issues, which are pretty scary.
So how much are you paying him a year?
I'd go 8 or 9.
8 or 9?
Oh yeah.
All right, so here's kind of something here's something weird. 8 or 9 puts him right between Brandon Marshall and Jordy Nelson.
And that's okay with me.
So that's pretty good.
That's okay
pretty
with
good
me.
money.
Mhm.
Here's the freaky thing, right? Is you look at a guy like, you know what he's making right now this year, Alshon Jeffrey?
How much?
He's making $15 million.
Jeez.
So do you think he's going to take the pay cut and go somewhere else?
No, of course not. He's going to go to a team who's like the Cleveland Browns because, and if I'm Alshon Jeffrey, that's tough because there's two versions of me with Alshon Jeffrey. There's the I want to make as much money as possible Alshon Jeffrey, and there's a I want to be competitive and win Alshon Jeffrey.
Do you think he's as valuable as Jeremy Maclin?
I do. I think his ceiling's higher than Jeremy Maclin if he can stay healthy. That's
All right.
the big stipulation.
So Macklin's at $11 million.
Wow.
Jeremy Maclin makes.
So Jeremy Maclin makes more than Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, Jordy Nelson makes. Jordy Nelson made $9,762,000.
So I think that
Jeremy
whole thing
Maclin
is
made
huge.
11.
Yeah, I would not pay. Well, granted, I mean Jeremy Maclin was a free agent more recent than Jordy Nelson was. Jeremy Maclin was a couple years ago, went to Kansas City from Philadelphia.
I mean, you're looking at guys. There's some guys like Golden Tate signed a $6.2 million deal. Amari Cooper's on his rookie deal. He's making $5 million.
And that's, you can't count Amari Cooper because
Right.
of the rookie deal.
I mean, Kenny Britt signed a $4.5 million deal. Chris Hogan signed with the Patriots for $4 million.
Right.
Edelman's making 4.2.
I think Alshon Jeffrey's better than all those guys. But
Oh, you put him above all of them.
oh yeah,
Really?
oh yeah.
Oh, all right. So you could justify the $11 million then in your own.
I could not. I couldn't justify 11 million. I think 11 million is way too much for Jeremy Maclin. I think I would put Jeremy Maclin in the 7 to 8 maybe, but I would put Alshon Jeffrey a little bit higher than that, 8 or 9. Granted, I mean I put a lesser stipulation than a lot of the league on paying wide receivers because you guys get like, I mean, what does Des Bryant? Pull up what Des Bryant makes on an average salary, like
$14 million.
Yep. I think that's a good upper echelon of wide receiving money.
Right.
I think Julio Jones might be in the 15 range. Like I'd put Julio Jones a little
Yeah,
higher.
Antonio just signed the biggest contract and it's $17 million.
Yeah. So 17 is kind of rich, but I guess I could give Antonio Brown 17. But if you're looking, okay, so like let's say that is your upper limit, and you go, all right, Antonio Brown's worth 17. What do you think Alshon Jeffrey's worth? I would put him. I guess I'd have to put him in the 10 based on what the market has set. Which,
All right.
yeah. And if I'm Alshon Jeffrey, obviously he doesn't want 10. He wants somebody who's going to pay him 15. And who else do you think would pay him 15? Somebody who's about to lose their number one wide receiver to free agency, the Cleveland Browns.
Man, swap Terrell Pryor, grab. Geez, that would be something.
Yeah, swap Terrell Pryor, get Alshon Jeffrey, because then they're going to pay him $15 million. Like, however, would you give Terrell Pryor $15 million if you were going to give Alshon Jeffrey $15 million?
I'm not prepared to give Alshon 15. I said I'm on record saying, and I want this. No, I would not give him more than 10. I would not give Alshon more than 10. I could get up to 12 for Terrell Pryor.
Okay.
You could get me up to 12 for Terrell Pryor. He's 27 years old. The guy's an absolute stud. He's a freak. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey.
Alshon Jeffrey's got so much better hands when he's healthy.
That's the key, though. When he's healthy,
Exactly.
and I'm not going to pay someone $17 million a year to play 4 games
get
for
hurt.
me, and then
That's true.
then pull a hammy and nurse it for 3.5 years. I mean, that's just not the way I'm going to fly.
No, I mean, and that's the thing, because I think, granted, Kevin White has the same, and some people don't know, Kevin White is kind of the wide receiver of the future that the Bears drafted. Also has kind of similar injury history.
Yeah.
However,
in the league with a
he looks
broken
like
leg and never played.
yeah, he looks like a freak and a stud.
Yeah, he does. Can you imagine if Alshon signs with the Browns? So that'd be like the biggest wah-wah moment of free agency. That'd just be so anticlimactic.
Oh, it would be very anticlimactic. Anybody who signs with the Browns is like, all right, cool, big whoop.
So,
but okay, so like I have my two versions of Alshon Jeffrey.
All right.
One went to the Browns. He's taking his $15 million because the Browns are like that team in free agency. Like, oh, if you want to throw $15 million at a wide receiver, you can do that because they have $70 million in cap space or $100 million. Like they have a stupid amount of cap space. And then my other one would be, that one's tough, but I think I could see, now here's like a kind of a moonshot, but if it were to happen, let's say the Raiders, right?
Raiders.
The Raiders, yep. I'm saying, granted, they just spent a lot of money on defense, but if they have the cap space, they cut Crabtree, fill him in, with Alshon Jeffrey. And
they
then
cut you want them to cut Michael Crabtree.
Yep.
So, man, you're a lot higher on Alshon than I am.
Yeah.
You are to the moon higher on Alshon than I am.
No, and don't get me wrong, I think Crabtree played really well last year. I mean, he played far better than what he's capable of. However,
okay.
I think that's what I mean. I just don't think his intrinsic value is as high as Alshon Jeffrey's. Alshon Jeffrey's ceiling is much higher than Crabtree's.
I mean,
that's me personally. Obviously, I mean,
hey, listen, you know what? When it comes to football talk, there's no right or wrong in any of this.
Exactly.
Stuff.
That's why there's professionals who do it and they still get it wrong.
Right, all the time.
So where do you think Alshon should go?
If I'm Alshon Jeffrey, it depends. Does he want to win? Or does he want to be rich?
Exactly.
There's options there. Again, Vincent Jackson down in Tampa Bay isn't going to last much longer. He's got to be on his way out.
He barely didn't last last year. He was out for most of the year.
Yeah, so they got to start cutting him at some point.
Yep.
Let's see.
No, and that would be a very scary proposition too.
Right, so maybe sending him down there because right now Vincent Jackson's making $11 million a year. So
you can almost fit him right into that salary.
Cut him. Sign Alshon. Again, I don't want to go over 10 for Alshon Jeffrey. So you try to negotiate and you go, listen, we got burned by a wide receiver once before. Maybe you give him a short 2-year or a 1-year even prove-it deal.
Mm-hmm.
But Tampa Bay has a window right now. I really believe that. If they draft defense and they get defensive players in there and they're ready to roll, I honestly believe they are right there because I think they have a franchise quarterback in Jameis. I think they have an absolute nightmare to guard in Mike Evans. And Alshon plays better with a superstar on the other side.
He does. He's. I mean, that's kind of the recipe so far for Alshon Jeffrey.
So that's where I'd send him.
Hey, that's not bad. I think he would be a better number 2 than Crabtree though. That's kind of why I picked. Same idea, same mantra.
I mean, I don't disagree that he may be better than Crabtree at all.
Because I mean, Alshon Jeffrey with Brandon Marshall compared to the Crabtree right now with.
It's true. And Crabtree did have his drop issues. So wrapping up, Alshon Jeffrey, where the hell should he go?
He should go to the Browns. I think he wants money. I think he's going to get money. I think they're going to move on from Terrell Pryor.
All right. So now we've come to the name of the free agent market. Everyone's talking about it. They can't believe it happened. He's been the name of our generation in football. Adrian Peterson is now a free agent.
Oh, snap.
So the question is, and we're gonna motor through this one and the next one a little bit, is AP still AD?
That's a tough one. I have to say no.
You say no? That's funny. I actually kind of agree with you on that one. So, since over the last 10 years, since Adrian Peterson's been in the league, he leads all NFL rushes and yards, touchdowns, all pro selections.
And my only stipulation is, all right, name another running back who was here 10 years ago. Frank Gore. And
I don't know.
That's about it.
So well, then the longevity's kind of there, right?
Yeah.
Last 3 seasons, 2015, he ran for a league-leading 1,485 yards and 11 touchdowns. Then he plays one game, he gets that child abuse scandal going on, which he shouldn't have been totally. He got his punishment. I'm glad they addressed it, and here we go. He comes back in 16, and everyone's expecting another resurgent year, Adrian Peterson comeback year, because that's what he does. He gets hurt or he's out, and he comes back and he kills the league.
As you should. I mean, that's not an injury. That's a rest. Here
right,
you go. You can work.
Rest.
Nobody's stopping you from working
out.
But
he tears his meniscus 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, and was doing nothing in the meantime. So here's why AP is not AP anymore. So in 2011, he averaged 4.7 yards a carry, then 6 yards a carry, then 4.5, then 3.6. It was only one game, so we'll just outlie 2014. Comes back, runs for 4.5. Then in 3 games, he had 37 attempts for 72 yards. That's less than 2 yards per rush.
Jeez.
Less than 2 yards a rush. And he had a fumble. And that's always been a problem with Adrian Peterson. There's not been a single year that he's played more than one game, apparently, that he hasn't fumbled. So I wouldn't do too much with him.
Does he fumble? Like, is his fumble per carry like a lot? Or I didn't know he was a big fumbler.
In 2015 he had 6 fumbles. In 2013 he had 3. In 2012 he had 3. In 2011 he only had 1. But he played 12 games. These are fumbles lost, by the way, so that doesn't even count how many times he dropped the ball.
Right. I mean, I don't know if I take that. Like, I mean, if you're, because he got a lot of touches. I mean, if he gets 200 touches and lost 1 fumble,
right?
That's not.
So
horrible.
Just quickly, where the hell should AP go? I'm telling you right now, I think he should go to the Giants on a 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
They had the 4th worst rushing attack, and I think they would be good for the Giants because they had Paul Perkins sitting behind him, and I think that kid's going to be good. Give him a couple of years to learn behind a legendary running back. I think it'll do wonders for him.
It might. Work ethic, too.
I'm actually going to go to your boys in Oakland and tell them to sign him because Latavius Murray, he's gone. Latavius Murray has all the makings to be AP 2.0, and for some reason he just can't figure out how to be AP. Give AP that offensive line, that passing game, it extends his NFL life,
right?
And will give him, it could potentially give him a Super Bowl. And then I would say,
that was scary.
Then a long shot would be like Green Bay, maybe sign him to a
Green
quick.
Bay, yeah, they'd have to move on from Eddie Lacy.
Yeah,
to do
it's
that.
time to move on from Eddie Lacy. That's been a fit. That was a flash in the pan kind of thing. We saw what he could be, and then he let us all down.
Yep.
So we're gonna move on to our last person in NFL free agency, and that's where you're gonna take over.
And I'm going to say that next person is another big name everybody's talking about, Deshaun Jackson. And not for anything other than he said, she said. Did he talk to Jameis? Did Jameis say that he wants Deshaun Jackson? And I can see why. I mean, he's a guy who can stretch the field better than anybody else in the league. He led the league last year in yards per catch. So, do you want somebody who can speed down the field? My only question is, can a 30-year-old still run a 4.3? Is that possible? I don't know.
I wouldn't know. I've never been able to run a 4.3, and I'm not even 30 yet. So.
Right. I mean, I run a 4.3 that's 10 feet maybe. I mean, that's that's my 4.3.
Yeah, I can do 4.3 maybe up the stairs. Like I can get up a set of stairs pretty quick.
So that would be my biggest thing. He's a speed guy. He's small, but he's 30, and generally small guys don't last. I mean, there's obviously outliers like Steve Smith who doesn't run a 4.3, never did run a 4.3, but
he was just angry.
He played angry. Which is what I think what caused his career to be, because he was so much tougher than everybody else. And don't get me wrong, Deshaun Jackson's pretty tough. He can take his hits.
Steve Smith was up there fighting all his teammates in training camp. Like, not a single training camp went by where Steve Smith wasn't beating the hell out of someone.
Oh, yeah, Steve Smith always got into fights. But it's tough to compare them to. So I don't think Deshaun Jackson, because, I mean, he's 190 pounds soaking wet. I don't think his career can last very long. So for me, if I'm Steve Smith, I said Steve Smith because I was thinking about Steve Smith, but if I'm Deshaun Jackson, I'm going to somebody who has a chance to win it. And everybody talked about Jameis. They bring him into which would be scary. Don't get me wrong, matching him with somebody like that. But I see somebody like maybe. Now here's kind of a nobody's talking about, but I think could make a big splash is Green Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they have some weapons, but their depth is not great. And some of the guys they brought back in, and especially against that they played the Cowboys in the playoffs. Yeah. Their wide receivers did not look good in that game.
Yeah, they still got it done, though.
They
still got it done.
They still got it done, but basically on the legs and arm of Aaron Rodgers. Now throw somebody like Deshaun Jackson into that mix.
Right.
And your offense looks a little bit scarier, especially with Jordy Nelson, like a healthy Jordy Nelson. I think that'd be a good spot for him.
All right. So, good. Wrapping up, you're saying Green Bay is where Deshaun Jackson should go.
I do.
Good. Well, so that's our takes on the free agency. So on this show, one thing we like to do is we like to shamelessly plug something that we enjoy. We've run a little bit over our time that we wanted to spend on the NFL free agency.
But there's a lot to talk about.
To talk about, and it's the first show, so you're just going to have to deal with our mistakes. What are you plugging? What do you liking this week?
I had, originally, I struggled with this all week. I kept me up at night mostly. I was going to plug something else, but I think for this time, and I'm looking at it right now, I'm going to plug this Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee, a nice caramel swirl. It's very cool and refreshing, and I'm drinking it, and you're going to hear me, and it's going to be delicious. And I run on Dunkin'.
Ryan runs on Dunkin'.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts, if you ever hear this, here's your new spokesperson. It should be Ryan.
You're welcome. Who needs David Ortiz or Rob Gronkowski? Just hire me.
For me, I'm gonna plug the Florida State University men's basketball team because, dear God, did they come out of nowhere to be a national contender? They weren't even ranked.
They were not ranked. They started ranked,
and they came out.
They made it all the way up to I think 8, and then they had a little setback.
Yeah, they've hit some roadblocks in the way, but you know what? That's gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
So I wish we could spend more time plugging our things, but there it is, Dunkin' Donuts, Florida State basketball. Congratulations to both of you. You made it onto the first ever podcast.
Check them out.
The first ever episode of What the Hell Should They Do? What the hell should Dunkin' Donuts and Florida State basketball do? Keep doing what you're doing, guys. So we like to have a little bit of fun on the show. As you can tell, we like to banter, we like to do other stuff. We also like to delve deep into my well of obscurity for songs. And so we're going to take this time, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to play a song for you.
A very obscure song.
It's a very obscure song. It's called Majestic by Wax Fang. So just take the 4 minutes to listen to it, enjoy it. We'll be right back.
It would be the most beautiful thing that they ever had seen. It would cause such surprise, it would make all of their minds electric. How could anyone tell them that some things are not what they seem? In such disbelief, I thought I was asleep when I met you. My heart liquefied and I sighed, oh, this must be a dream. Why forget to set the alarm and sleep on through the dawn, don't remind me. I'd rather be dreaming of someone than living alone. If you're stretching the lines for a point, well, you've probably missed it. There was never anything there in the first place.
Alright, so that was Majestic by Waxfang.
Very interesting.
Thanks Seth MacFarlane for that one, putting in an American Dad, one of my favorite shows. So like we said, we're going to talk about a list, and as I had said a few minutes ago, we ran a little bit over time, so we took the top 5, we cut it down to the top 3 celebrities we want to see in the White House next. So for me, the order is number 3, I want to see Oprah. Oprah in the White House. I think she's just very, like, I just love to see her be like...
to the White House.
Yeah, I just love to see her be like, you get health care, and you get health care, and you get health care, everyone's getting health care, and doing stuff like that. Second, I want to see Tom Hanks. I'm a Tom Hanks fan. I think it would be great. I think he's just a lovable guy. Here we go, Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
and number 1, it's years down the road, but I want to see Emma Watson. A, I know she's foreign. B, I know she's under 35. So we gotta wait. We gotta change some laws because I think she is absolutely the most fit person on the planet to be president. I don't know why.
I don't know about presidency.
I mean, she's just like she's very smart. She's educated.
She's got that Oxford intelligence.
She went to Brown. Like, so she went to an Ivy League school. Like, it's all like, I mean, this is a girl who went from being Hermione Granger to being like, you know what, I'm going to take time off from acting and go to school. And then she's like, oh, I'm just going to star in maybe the biggest movie of the year in Beauty and the Beast this year. And then decides that she's going to be a UN ambassador. So she's kind of
She's
doing
already
it
got
all.
some, yeah.
Like, if the world had a Mary Poppins besides Julie Andrews being Mary Poppins, it would be Emma Watson. Like, that's it.
And he's also got a crush on her, so we can take that.
I mean,
You'll be the first man.
Emma Watson, if you're listening to this, I would love to meet you.
First man.
First man right here. First man. All right. So how about you?
All right. So before I make my list, I have a theme, an overall theme, and I'm going to start with the number 3 and work my way up, and I'm going to see if you can guess it before I can get to the top one,
Okay.
number 1.
All right.
Yep. There's an overall theme to mine. Okay. So, and maybe I'll throw you a hint. Maybe I won't. No, I probably won't.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So number 3 is, like on your list, I have Tom Hanks.
All right.
He's number 3 on my list. So just think of everything Tom Hanks has done and in entertainment rather than politics that
Okay.
can get him into the White House.
All right.
And then number 2 is Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
They've done some stuff, and then this one might give it a little bit of away. My number 1, I didn't know his name, but he's got the great face for the presidency. He's actually had some experience in his presidency. His name is Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman. All right. So wait a minute. So Morgan Freeman, Tom Hanks, and then Bill Pullman.
Yep.
How are they related in any way? So Tom Hanks did voiceover work.
They're related in all ways because they have delivered some of the greatest movie speeches of all time. And I think
All
something
right.
for presidency is movie speeches. Because if you can do a movie
Movies.
speech, you can do a real life speech. And if you can do a real life speech, you win the presidency. AKA, heck, Obama. I mean, look at all the guys who were great speakers who
Right,
won the
yeah.
presidency.
That works. So wait a minute. Then why isn't Schwarzenegger in there? Like, what if he was just like at the end of his first term, he just gets up there, he's like, "I'll be back," and like just walk
That's not a
off.
speech. That's like a one-liner.
That would be the world's greatest speech, though.
I'll be back for another term. That could be a slogan. But for those of you who don't know, because I didn't know, Bill Pullman, Independence Day. For those
Yes.
people who don't maybe know actor's name,
I knew
he was
that.
the president in Independence Day who gave a great speech, and I think that would translate very well to the White House. I think he could do it.
I mean,
He's
I
already
guess
done
that
it. He was the
works.
president in the movie.
so there you go. There's our picks for president. We're gonna keep moving right on. We're gonna stick with some sports themes here. The trade deadline just passed in the NBA.
Yes, it did.
Rather
Rather quietly. Save for
quietly.
one.
We thought big moves were going to be made. We had all these rumors about stars moving all over the place. We had one star move somewhere,
Mhm.
and don't try to sell me on Serge Ibaka being a star because I
He's
just
not.
don't buy it.
No.
Like that's really nothing. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to kick off this topic. I'm going to talk about my guy. I want to talk about how Carmelo Anthony is still a Knick.
So shockingly, very shocking.
I think they missed an opportunity here. I think two teams missed an opportunity. I think the Knicks missed an opportunity. The Knicks nixed their
Knicks-
opportunity.
well, I
Look
see
at
what you did
that.
there.
And I think the Clippers missed an opportunity to get really, really be a threat out in the West because I just don't think they have the talent right now to get past Golden State and San Antonio.
Well, where'd you put him? Where'd you put him as a
Small
power forward? Isn't Blake Griffin a small, or is
No,
it
he's
power?
a power forward.
Oh,
So
okay.
imagine a lineup of
Yep.
Chris Paul,
Mhm.
and then you go Jamal Crawford, say,
Yeah,
or
whatever.
some shoot.
JJ
Oh no,
Redick.
JJ Redick
Yeah.
is their starting shooting guard,
Yep.
right? Thank you. Then Carmelo Anthony, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan.
That would be scary if they
Right.
could all stay healthy. I mean, has Chris Paul come back yet?
I don't know if he's back yet, but when he does,
Well, he does, and
here we
especially for
go.
a playoff push.
I mean, I get Melo's kind of a ball hog, but I think at this point in his career, he's more concerned with winning than he is with scoring.
Right. That's
And
why he doesn't like the Knicks.
Let's be real. The marriage between him and the Knicks, that has gone sour. Like,
Yeah.
it is time for the divorce to happen. Sign the paper, send them on their way, split the assets, take the kids. It's
Right.
time for them to move on their way. Phil Jackson's out here ripping him a new one every
Doing
chance
who
he
knows
gets.
what. What has Phil
World's
Jackson
worst
actually done for that
executive, by the
organization?
way, like in the entire world,
Yeah.
and it's just not going well. So you had some thoughts on Jimmy Butler.
I did. I think he should have moved. I think he should have gone to the Celtics. And obviously,
Homer.
I'm a very Could you call? Don't.
Yeah.
Hope that was Homer Stiff reference. In case anybody got that one.
Yeah.
But yes, I think he should have, and maybe not even to the Celtics, but just out of the Chicago Bulls, because they've been doing, and they, like, I guess I can see where they're coming from. Like, all right, we're gonna bring in like Rajon Rondo, we're gonna bring in Dwayne Wade, we're gonna do this thing, like we're gonna have our own kind of big three, but you brought in a cancer and you brought in an old man. Like it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Try to build a family with that and see how that works.
Right. I mean, no disrespect to D Wade or anything.
No, I
but
mean, he had a great run in Miami.
yeah, the days of him being Flash, I kind of, now it's like, oh, vintage Wade. Like, it shouldn't be a surprise when your superstar acts like a superstar.
Yeah. Yeah, like they get like, oh my god, we got Dwayne Wade back for 5 minutes a game, and then we have old Dwayne Wade back for 25. Like it just doesn't translate.
Right. Remember early in the year when everyone thought Dwayne Wade had developed a 3-point shot? Like everyone was talking about it. It was like, oh my god, he's shooting 56% from deep. Dwayne Wade has a 3-point. No, he doesn't.
It was the same progression that Kobe Bryant had. Kobe Bryant always had a 3-point shot, but he had to take a lot more because he just wasn't as athletic as enough. So what did he have to do? He had to settle for threes.
Yeah, when he got older.
Yeah.
Because
and that's what Dwayne Wade has to do. He has to settle for threes.
yeah, except he's not as good at shooting as Kobe was.
No, he started off doing well, but I mean the real shooter came through, and now he's back to where his averages are.
Right.
So that's kind of rough. And you have more thoughts on the entire Bulls organization rather than just Jimmy Butler.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of this Jimmy Butler thing. They should have traded him to the Celtics. They should have traded him to the Celtics for sure. Celtics had a lot of draft picks stocked up. I think Danny Ainge was sitting there waiting to make a move. And I think the thing got hung up from the rumors I heard on Jay Crowder.
I guess.
Like, really?
That's
what you get. Here's the thing. I don't even think they should have just traded Jimmy Butler. They should have had a fire sale. It should have been everything must go and it's all 80% off. Get it out of there. Bulls, take the same approach that I said to the Redskins. If you got, like, you don't want to middle as an 8 seed.
No.
Because if you're an 8 seed in the
it's
NBA, you're not winning.
Yeah, worst
you're not
possible spot to be in.
So you might make the playoffs, you might not, which means if you make the playoffs as an 8 seed, you're out of the lottery. You have now forfeited your lottery pick. And I get this was a win now move, like, oh, let's sign D-Wade.
But if you win now and don't make the playoffs, your entire season's a failure.
That's the thing. Win now means championship now, not, oh, let's improve by 7 games now. Like, let's win now.
Let's get to the first round.
They signed Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade had that drama with Miami, and he was like, you know what? And to stick it to you, I'm going to go back home. I'm literally taking my ball
and
going home. Like, that's what Dwayne Wade did. No disrespect. I think the Heat were wrong the way they treated him.
Yeah, give the man some money. I mean,
give the man the money.
Yeah.
The Heat are terrible this year anyway, too. So
what's the matter? Are you paying him for a year anyway?
2 years, middle around, fall, draft up. You got Hassan Whiteside, and you got that Johnson kid that they seem to think is really good.
You got some cores, at least
but
you can
the
young
Bulls,
guys you can build
the
around.
Bulls need to figure themselves out. I think it's time for Fred Hoiberg to go because now there's like this fracturing going on in that locker room. You got Rondo calling out the leadership on the team. You got like Dwayne Wade telling
they have no other young guys on that team. So when like Rajon Rondo, Dwayne Wade retires, you're stuck with again Jimmy Butler, which you were stuck with before.
Right, and they traded Doug McDermott. They traded Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson, who was a leader on that team for the last 8 years or so. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's going on with that front office. They really do think they're still in the Jordan era where they can just go out and everyone wants to be there because like they're not. Like you're one good draft pick in the last
destination.
Right. Like you're one good draft pick in the last 6 years. Had 2 good years in Derrick Rose and then blew up. Like even when they get it right, they get it wrong lately. It's unbelievable.
It's bad.
So I'm going to turn it over to you for this last segment, and then we'll say goodbye to our listeners.
Yes, and my last point for the podcast is I think and granted he's hurt now. Well, I'm just going to preface that by saying he should have been gone before the injury. This should have happened a long time ago. The Cavaliers should have got rid of Kevin Love. They just brought in a shooter in Kyle Korver, which they could have done anyway. They didn't need Kevin Love there. I mean, that's really Kevin Love's only purpose right now on the team was to shoot threes. He's hurt. So now you're paying this guy a max contract. You're paying him 24 or whatever the max contract is now, 26. You're paying him that to sit on the bench and do nothing. Like, he's hurt. You're still paying him. You could have got at least some depth, which the Cavaliers, I don't think they have. I don't think the Cavs bench is that good. And, I mean, I think there was a lot of teams that could have ventured for his services. Like, I don't know, throw him as a small forward for the Clippers. I don't think it would work out as well, but it's something they could they could work on. Or even, I don't know. Maybe the Bulls would take a shot at him. I mean,
there had to have been teams out there
this
that were
happened-
just
yeah.
itching to get him. I mean,
yeah. And, I mean, he just never, like, they have flashes, and everyone goes, oh, maybe they have a connection, him and, like, LeBron James, and maybe they're actually getting it together, and then he'll go another 10 games without scoring over 20 points. Like, it just, he has his ups and his downs, and
yeah, I think it's ridiculous that, like, the highlight of his Cleveland career is everyone's like, oh, look at that. When Steph Curry was going for that last second shot, he played decent defense. Like, if I'm paying you the max, you better be playing good defense all the time.
yeah, you should be playing defense and scoring. You should be doing it all.
Right, like, I mean, if listen, Cleveland, I'm available. You need someone to stand in the corner and stay out of LeBron's way and shoot a three here and there?
Yeah.
I got you.
I can do. You're
Like,
paying Kyle Korver a lot less to do
yeah.
the same thing he's
like,
doing.
I got
He
you.
doesn't
I'm
even
here.
rebound.
I'm available. Contact me. Have your people call my people.
Yeah.
Um,
And that brings me to, like, the whole point I have with the whole salary cap and the max salary, and I hate the whole thing, but that's a topic for another day.
right.
Yeah.
Because we are actually just about out of time. We're going to wrap it up with a, oh, look at that, a couple minutes to spare.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you so much to anyone who's listening, anyone who's going to
Yes.
follow us. Soon we're going to try to get an email up. We're going to try to get a website going. We're going to try to get a way for you guys to contact us, give us your thoughts, your comments,
Yeah, possible topics to talk about
topics
as well.
to talk about, shout outs perhaps maybe for your businesses and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
of course.
We're always happy to give
looking
a
for that.
shameless plug, as we said. We're not above shamelessly doing anything.
Exactly.
And then, we're pretty much good to go on that. Give us a like, give us a share, give us
However you want to
however you
repress
want
it.
to acknowledge that you were here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
We are, what the hell should they do? And again, we are amateurs telling the professionals how to do their jobs.
What the hell should we do? We should hit the end button.
Yeah, agreed.